By watching the changes in the 4 seasons, we can also see how everything is impermanent. In the summer, meadows are green and lush from the nectar of rain, and all living beings bask in the glow of happiness. Various flowers spring up, and the landscape blossoms into a colourful paradise. As the autumn breeze grows cooler, green grasslands turn yellow, and flowers and plants gradually wither. In the winter, the earth becomes as hard as rock, rivers freeze, and cold wind blows fiercely. Even if you ride for days, you cannot find a single flower that blooms in the summer. In this way, each season comes in turn. Summer gives way to autumn, autumn to winter, and winter to spring. Each is different from the one before, and each is impermanent. Moreover, look how quickly yesterday and today, this morning and tonight, this year and next year, all pass by one after another. Therefore, nothing is permanent, reliable, or stable. The cities, villages, monasteries, and wherever we once lived have changed. Those who were once wealthy and prosperous may have fallen and even lost their homes and loved ones. Conversely, those who were once poor and helpless may have become wealthy and powerful now. Nothing stays the same forever. Likewise, generations of relatives in our family have gradually passed away, and only their names remain now. Many siblings and relatives of the same generation have also passed away. No one knows where they are now. Many rich and powerful people, once renowned worldwide, are now just names. Who knows if those envied for their wealth and influence today will still be alive this time next year or next month? Consider your animals, cows, sheep, or dogs. How many have passed away, and how many remain? After reflecting on all these cases, you can see that everything is impermanent. Some examples are very helpful for meditating on impermanence. The Songs of Milarepa used 8 examples to illustrate impermanence. A golden Buddha painting will eventually fade. Beautiful flowers will be frozen by frost in autumn. A roaring waterfall in the high valley will slow down when it reaches the plain. Green rice fields will be cut by sickles. Exquisite silk will be cut with scissors. Treasures accumulated through hard work will be abandoned at death. The new moon is slim, but will soon become full. A newborn baby is cute, but may die prematurely due to accidents. These examples illustrate gross impermanence. We should meditate on subtle impermanence. It is explained clearly in the course All Conditioned Things Are Impermanent, so we won't go into detail here. The 3 realms are impermanent like autumn clouds. All 3 realms are impermanent like fleeting clouds in autumn. All those alive more than 100 years ago are dead now. In another 100 years from now, every single person now alive throughout the world will be dead. Therefore, nothing in the universe, animate or inanimate, has any permanence or stability. As the saying goes, birth is inevitably followed by death. Accumulation is inevitably followed by exhaustion. Gatherings are inevitably followed by separation. Formation is inevitably followed by destruction. Rise is inevitably followed by fall. Whatever is born will eventually die. friendship and enmity, happiness and suffering, good and evil, all thoughts that run through your mind, everything is impermanent. No matter who you are, even if you are as exalted as the heavens, mighty as a thunderbolt, rich as a naga, beautiful as a god, or brilliant as a rainbow, when death suddenly comes, there is nothing you can do about it for even a moment. You have no choice but to leave the world naked and empty-handed. Even though you are reluctant to separate from your wealth, loved ones, friends, followers, disciples, attendants, food, drink, and all other possessions, at that time you can only leave everything behind and leave alone, just like a hair pulled out of a slab of butter. Even a teacher of thousands of monks cannot take a single disciple with him. Even a clan chief who governs tens of thousands of people cannot take a single one as his servants. Even the owner of all the wealth in the world cannot take a single needle or thread with him. You have to abandon even your beloved body. Some people wear silk and brocades, drink tea and wine, hold high positions, and are beautiful like celestial beings while alive. However, after death, they become corpses, lying there haphazardly and horribly. As Songs of Milarepa said, the thing we call a corpse, so fearful to behold, is right here, our own body. After death, the corpse is tied with a rope, covered with a cloth, and placed on earth and stones. The deceased's bowl is placed upside down near their head. This is a Tibetan custom. The bowl that the deceased used when they were alive is placed upside down near their head. No matter how lovely and dignified you were when alive, you will become a pitiful and repulsive sight at that time. When the living lie down to sleep, even on piles of furs and soft sheepskin rugs, they feel uncomfortable after a while and have to keep turning over. However, once they are dead, they only lie on a stone or a tuft of grass, with hairs bespattered with earth. Some of you who are heads of families may think, if I am no longer here, my family might suffer from hunger and cold, be hurt by enemies, or drowned by the river. All their wealth and happiness depend on me, so they cannot survive without me. However, after your death, they will feel relieved after cremating your corpse, throwing it into a river, or dumping it in a charnel ground. When you die, you have no choice but to wander alone in the intermediate state without a single companion. The only thing you can rely on is the Dharma. Therefore, tell yourself again and again that from now on you must strive to practice the Dharma. Whatever is accumulated will eventually be exhausted. Whatever is stored up is bound to run out. Even the king who rules over the whole world may become a vagabond. Many people start their lives surrounded by wealth, but end up losing everything and starving to death. Those who own hundreds of yaks one year may become beggars the next year due to heavy snow or other disasters. Someone who was rich and powerful yesterday may be reduced to begging today because his enemies destroyed everything he owned. We can see many such cases. It is impossible to hang on to our wealth and possessions forever. Therefore, we should repeatedly contemplate and practice generosity. All gatherings will end in separation. All gatherings are bound to separate. A big market or a grand assembly may gather thousands of people from different places, but in the end they will return to their own homes. Whatever harmonious relationships we have now, teachers and disciples, masters and servants, patrons and recipients, spiritual friends, siblings and spouses, there is no way we can avoid being separated in the end. We cannot even be sure whether there will be death or other terrible events that suddenly separate us right now. Since spiritual friends, family members, and so forth we spend time with day and night will soon be separated, we should avoid anger, quarrels, fights, and conflicts. We never know how long we might be together, so we should respect and love each other and live in harmony in these fleeting days. As Padampa Sangye said, families are as fleeting as a crowd in a market. People of Tangri don't bicker or fight. Whatever is built will eventually collapse. All buildings are bound to fall apart. The prosperous cities and monasteries, managed by virtuous individuals in the past, now become ruins where birds make their nests. During the reign of King Trisong Detsen, Samye's 3-storied temple was built by emanated workers and consecrated by the second Buddha of Otayana. Yet it was destroyed by fire in a single night. During the reign of King Songtsen Gampo, the Red Mountain Palace rivaled the grandeur of Indra's palace, but now not even its foundation stones remain. In comparison, our current towns, residences, and monasteries are like insects' nests. So why are we so attached to them? Therefore, we should follow the example of the past masters of the Kagyu tradition, who left their homeland behind and headed for the wilderness. They dwelt in caves with only wild animals for companions, without the least concern about food, clothing, and renown. Then we should follow the Kadampa's 4 ambitions wholeheartedly. Base your mind on the Dharma. Base your Dharma on a humble life. Base your humble life on the thought of death. Base your death on an empty, barren hollow. We should sincerely practice these 4 sublime principles. The 4 ambitions of the Kadampas are excellent, and we should bear it in mind. Base your mind on the Dharma. Base your Dharma on a humble life. Base your humble life on the thought of death. Base your death on an empty, barren hollow. Base your mind on the Dharma. This means we should constantly practice the Buddha's teachings. Living a humble life is essential for progressing swiftly in Dharma practice and realization. Base your Dharma on a humble life. This means it is better not to have excessive worldly blessings. Otherwise, it is easy to become arrogant and indulgent. Many people who have roots of virtue, for example, the person I mentioned earlier had faith and roots of virtue, but if he hadn't become so poor, he would never have come here. He said so himself. Generally speaking, except for some Bodhisattvas, if one doesn't experience difficulties before entering the Buddhist path, as I have seen, many Buddhists don't put effort into Dharma practice until they encounter adversity, obstacles, or poverty. Having too much worldly fortune will cause spiritual decline. For ordinary beings, it is better not to have excessive worldly blessings. Base your humble life on the thought of death. This means when practicing the Dharma, we don't pursue worldly wealth. So we may become poor. However, we shouldn't worry or even become anxious because of poverty. Instead, we should seize the time to practice because we don't know when we will die. Don't worry and think, I don't have insurance. What if I get sick? Once you have such concerns, you won't achieve good progress in your practice. If you think, I need to find a way to make money before I start practicing, you might end up dying before you have the chance. Perhaps you will die while endeavouring to earn money, or when you finally earn money, you have become old or ill and the conditions for practice change. Or when you have money, you are reluctant to let go of it. When you are too wealthy, you may lose interest in spiritual practice. Or perhaps you meet someone and get married. Therefore, base your humble life on the thought of death. As an ordinary monastic or practitioner, if you are poor, such as not having financial support, living in the mountains without doctors, hospitals, or much money, yet you don't have any concern about life and death and are okay to die at any time, you have embodied base your humble life on the thought of death. Only with such single-minded devotion to the path can you attain enlightenment. How can you succeed in your practice if your mind is full of worries and concerns? If you often ponder, I need to find a way to purchase insurance, you won't progress well in your practice. How will you get the money for the insurance? You will have to figure out a way. As a practitioner, don't worry about clothing and food. Instead, devote yourself to practicing the path to liberation. By doing so, you won't lack necessities. The Buddha said that genuine practitioners will never lack clothing and food. Especially in this age of Dharma decline, practitioners can accumulate even greater merit through benefiting sentient beings. Even if they only appear as monastics but don't practice diligently, as long as they properly uphold the precepts, their merits are immeasurable and available at hand. They won't lack sustenance. Nowadays, genuine monastics and practitioners are rare and don't lack benefactors. Base your death on an empty, barren hollow. As practitioners, when death approaches, how should we respond? If we know we are sick or dying, how should we mentally respond? We should let go of everything. Since death is imminent, there is no need to cling to this or that, even to the teachings we receive. We should even let go of our attachment to the teachings. We shall abandon all attachments and focus on practicing. Condense all teachings to their essence and don't grasp onto too much. As the great masters have taught, at the time of death, focus on reciting Amitabha Buddha's name and let go of everything else. Completely release attachment to your possessions and loved ones. This is what the empty, barren hollow means. The empty, barren hollow means letting go of all attachments in the mind. When facing death, we should practice in this way. Only by doing so can we enter the Dharma and experience a good journey of death, receiving the blessings from Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, activating mindfulness and practicing the Dharma, or attaining accomplishments of Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, or Namanakaya in the intermediate state. If you achieve such accomplishments, you won't fear any future rebirths because you will encounter the Dharma soon in your next life. Base your mind on the Dharma. Base your Dharma on a humble life. Base your humble life on the thought of death. Base your death on an empty, barren hollow. These 4 points are significant. As practitioners, we should have such determination and mindset. Whatever rises will eventually fall. Mandatri, the gold-wheeled universal monarch who ruled the 4 continents, was incredibly brave and powerful. He even reigned over the heaven of the 33, shared the throne with Indra, equal to Indra, and could defeat the Asuras in battle. However, in the end, he fell to earth and died with his ambitions unsatisfied. As we can see, no one in positions of power, kings, lords, lamas, or local officials, can keep their positions forever. An official who imposes the law on others last year may become a prisoner this year. So what use is such transitory power? The perfect Buddhahood, on the other hand, will never decline and is worthy of offerings from gods and humans. Hence, we should earnestly practice the Dharma that leads to Buddhahood.